Welcome back, everyone. Today we got Stihl M382. Brand new, out of the box. Says on the front, made in Brazil. So today we're going to get this one fired up, get some baseline runs on it. Then we're going to tear it down and port it up. Do believe these are pretty much the same thing as the 038s. When we step over here, we'll get it fired up, see how it does, and then we'll get it put on the dyno. Alrighty, it does run, so that's a start. Actually feels like it's got pretty darn good compression. I was surprised. You see we got the factory outlet, and it looks like there's actually a couple of gills on the front of the muffler. That is all factory stuff. But once it's ported, we'll have an outlet over on this side. But I'll get it warmed up real good, put it on the dyno, get some baseline runs on it. Then we'll come back for a full teardown. Alright, got those baseline runs done. Now, we'll take it down. This will actually be my first time in one of these, or even a 380 variant, or 038. The filter out of the way. Definitely not a high flow filter here. There we go. Alright, pull the top cover off, see what's got hiding underneath. Now you have to let me know if any of you are familiar with the 038s. I think they had a couple different sizes. Well, they had like a mag and a mag 2. If anybody's actually run them. Now looking at the graph, definitely appears to be a little bit more torquey, not quite as revvy as like the 044s, 046s. But if anybody's got actual hands-on experience, let me know. Let me know what you think of them. Choke is in the air filter. I think another small Stihl's like that. Pull this muffler off. I noticed it was spraying a little bit. Must not have a gasket. Break these loose and zip them out. Does have a pretty hefty baffle in there. We'll be pulling that out. I'll show you in one sec. Let me get it off. There's the baffle. Like I said, we'll get rid of that. We'll be adding a medium deflector to this side. Alright, here's our 8. I'm going to pull this carb off. Pull the carb off. What do we got? Zama. It's actually a fairly small carb. A little Zama carb. Just like so. Cylinder comes off. Looking like 52 millimeter. This one also does have the piece in the crankcase, like the 461s, 661s, most of the newer Stihls. I really don't think the older 038s had that. Well, looks like we got an open port cylinder. Open port, let me grab the calipers, but I'm pretty sure 52 millimeter. So the cylinder is definitely different. That part of the crankcase, that's interesting. Huh. This crankcase looks, it has the front fed transfer area. See if this gasket's the same. Definitely didn't expect to see that. So let me know what everybody thinks about the new background. Plan on adding some more signs. If anybody has some dealer signs or something, let me know. I'll get some more decorations put back there, but I just want a nice clean background. When I'm doing these video builds, I like to keep everything clean to start with. It just helps them go along a little better. Alright, here we have just an aftermarket 461 cylinder, just because I was curious. Back holes are identical. Almost lines up with the transfer feed. But it's too narrow and the exhaust side holes are a bit off. Same thing, I'm not really sure what they were doing, where they were going. You can almost see the thought process of trying to do the front fed up here. But this is a super wide, super square base, just kind of different. So I'll finish taking this down. Take the recoil off, take the drum off. We'll get a wheel mounted on, get some timing numbers. Alright, here's the digital degree wheel. Offer these on the website, worksaws.com, if you're interested. Put it on the end of the crank here, facing me so I can see it. Line this cylinder up real quick. This is just to see approximately where it's at. Need to do the machine work to be for sure where we're starting. Right at 100 on the exhaust. Use my foam light to see in the transfers. Basically got 100 on the exhaust, 123 on the transfers, 76.5 on the intake. So that's really not landing too awful bad right there. We'll probably take 30. Looks like it's going to be right on the edge of free porting where it's at. Let me just check it and see real quick. Not quite free porting yet, but super close. So what we'll probably do is just take 30 thousandths out of the squish. That little bit that it's touching ought to leave us right with about 25,000 squish. Not going to free port. Numbers aren't horrible where they are. Probably bump the transfers up a touch and widen the exhaust, and that should make a dandy runner. But I got to get a plate made. We'll get this squish cut to set our clearance, and we'll go from there. So you can see here, we widen the exhaust, raise the uppers, just widen the intake a little bit. We still need to get this cleaned up. But we landed at 98 on the exhaust, 120s on the uppers, intake at 79. So not too bad. This one got a double port exhaust. Got rid of the cage and baffle on the side. Medium on the side, and then a medium wide on the front cover as well. A little bit extra muffler. He says he's only going to run a 20 or 24 on this one. That's why we went a little bit higher. But like I said, while I was taking this one apart, I was curious what all they did different. First time in a 382, I've never even done the 038s or anything like that. But I was just curious. I'm always wondering what cylinders will swap, what'll be a fun build. But this one's definitely a different animal. If anybody else has been in one of these, let me know. Now we can tighten it down. But this was kind of an interesting saw. This was kind of interesting. Kind of a mix between 461, 500i, 038, little bit of everything going on in this one. Still carbureted. Got that little, what is it, little Zama carb? Yep, little Zama carb. Seems to be unlimited coil. The rubber anti-vibes. 52 millimeter. There's that. We're doing good. Still goes roundy roundy. Put the cover on. Now this front cover does have gills on this side too. So it's kind of a factory dual port, if you will. So now I guess it's a quad port. 4 outlets. I just wanted to let it breathe a little bit. Fine. Alright. Now these filters, they don't do it any justice at all. And the choke flap's actually in there. But that's not a very high flow filter at all. So I think some kind of a stack, but then you're fighting with your choke. I don't know how many more are out there, but I don't imagine there's too awful many of these ported MS382s floating around. Definitely the first one I've seen. A couple of those things different. No? We'll get this one fueled up and see what kind of power. Alrighty. Get some fuel tossed in here. Fire it up, see how it does. Full choke, decomp in. Definitely got some pop. Took a couple times to get it primed up, but other than that, I think it's ready to go on the dyno. Alrighty, here's our results. We got 6.28 horse and 4.29 foot-pounds, up from 5.47 and 4.15. You can see, not a super huge gain. I think it works out to about 15%, real close to there. But we did gain over the whole range. Still fairly flat power band. This little spike here is from where it cleaned up from 4-stroke. But overall, pretty good power with the limitations that we have. That open port cylinder, not being able to drop it, and that air filter really hurts this for the 70cc class. But it looks like but with those things, and I don't think the carb's none too big. So small carb, restricted filter, open port design. Not really having a lot of room to work with because we're pretty much at the edge of Freeport just by dropping it and setting the squish. But we did gain more power than stock, nice broad operating range, and should make a pretty good runner. Plus I know there's not very many of them over here in the States. But let me know what you guys think. Alright, thanks a lot everyone.